Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Play Some Video Games, the only gaming podcast brought to you proudly by Taco Bell, home of the new Chicken Doubledilla. So nice, we used it twice. A fanciest food for fanciest people. Everybody likes to get out sort of fancy every now and then. You iron the wrinkles out of your favorite t-shirt. Wear a pair of shoes that actually have laces in them. And at times like this, you need to treat yourself to a food that's as fancy as you're feeling. That's where the Chicken Doubledilla comes in. It's filled with all white meat, creamy jalapeno sauce, and a 3-cheese blend, all grilled up in a flour tortilla. It's so top-notch you'll need to eat it with both pinkies up. It's the classiest quesadilla in its class, served with a side of crispy nacho chips and zesty salsa for extra fanciness. It is I, your host, Kevin. With me this week is the goose to my maverick, Donnie. And pinch hitting for Coach Mo this week is Nathan. So kind of you to join us last minute here to kind of wrap up the rest of E3 and all of our coverage. You know, it feels like we've been talking about E3 for about, 2 months or so, and we promise that this is the next to last episode we will talk about E3. So previously, if you haven't heard the other episodes already, we have released our Xbox wrap-up and our PlayStation wrap-up. So tonight we're going to talk about the third-party developers covering EA, Ubisoft, Bethesda, and lastly, Nintendo. So without further ado, we're going to dive right into it, and we're going to kick things off with Nathan, who's going to talk about E3. Take it away, Nathan.
I'm going to talk about E3 or EA?
Oh, EA at E3.
All right. I feel like you do this to me because you want the show to start out on a low note.
No, I want you to yell and rage. That's why you have EA.
Okay. Going into E3, we knew in the E3 prediction show like what I wanted from EA, right? I wanted some good stuff about Star Wars. That was the number one thing I wanted. We didn't get that.
Wait, we didn't?
We got like a sizzle reel, quote unquote, behind the scenes thing, like 5-minute Star Wars update, they called it. And that's all it was. There was no information, like physical good information about Visceral's Star Wars game from Amy Hennig. Okay? I needed more from that. I needed more than just that little 2-second little video that they showed of the game. I needed more from Star Wars because EA has all the Star Wars except, you know what was weird? You've already talked about PlayStation. There was more Star Wars at PlayStation than there was at EA. What's up with that?
Absolutely. It made no sense, but hey, I dug it.
Okay. So, anyway, I digress. Let's go through this a little bit chronologically. Maybe I'll have some positive stuff to say about EA. They begin with Titanfall 2. I loved Titanfall 1, and you understand that I, as an Xbox One guy, I had the opportunity to play the first Titanfall, and I enjoyed it. I played a lot of it, and I know Mo did as well, and it's a great game, and I'm glad that Titanfall 2 is going to have a bigger audience now on the PlayStation 4, and I'm also glad that there's going to be a campaign mode now. There's going to be the grapple hook mechanic that looks really cool. And I really am looking forward to see where they take this game. So it looks cool, looks good, and I absolutely am ready for my own little Autobot. I mean, didn't it just seem like an Autobot, like Optimus, was kind of like your tag team buddy?
Putty?
I don't know.
Putty? No, Titanfall, I'm excited for. So having not owned an Xbox, I felt like I missed out a little bit on Titanfall, but then they talked about, it was always going to be multiplayer and there wasn't a campaign. Well, this, when they unveiled this, I'm like, all right, now I can get behind this. It's still got the multiplayer, looks amazing, and I'll get that single-player experience I want as well. So I'm all on board with you.
Yeah, and there's 6 new Titans that they're going to introduce, this new mechanic stuff, and it just looks really good. So I'm excited. It's more Titanfall, and I'm glad that, the PlayStation 4 people will be able to play it now too and get to enjoy the amazingness that I thought was really good on Xbox, but I don't understand why it just didn't have legs, the first Titanfall. I don't understand if it was maybe Call of Duty that cut it out from under it, or I don't know, maybe the Halo stuff. It was sad to see that it didn't keep on. Like, if you go and play it now, yeah, there's people playing, but nowhere near as many people. And they've updated the game. They kept supporting the game. They didn't abandon it, but the gamers did. So it was an interesting scenario. So, moving on, and if Mo, again, I'm covering for Mo here, so imagine if I was Mo, and this next thing would be, I'm going to do my best Mo impersonation, okay?
Are you wearing pants?
I'm wearing shorts.
You got to fix that. You're not channeling Mo if you're wearing pants.
Well, I'm not wearing pants. I'm wearing shorts. There's a difference. Mo, we need a ruling. So, here's my best Mo impersonation. Madden!
Pretty good.
Was that good?
It almost made me spit out my coffee.
So Madden, it was brought up, but it was weird. It was just like a versus type trailer type thing where it showed like the two quote unquote best Madden players, and it showed Madden tournaments, and that just didn't do it for me. I know Mo probably really likes it a lot more than I do, and he probably knows who those guys are and follows them on Twitter and has DMs with them. I got nothing out of that. I wish they actually would have showed us more gameplay from Madden 17 or something, and just give us a little more Madden 17. You just basically popped up on the screen for like 30 seconds, and that was it. So, anyway, the whole esports culture is something that EA is going with now, right? So they want to make these competition things accessible to more people, and these live events are going to be happening now with these tournaments, and it just they're doubling down on esports and trying to make it more of a thing, right? So that and the FIFA, they also talked about FIFA 17, but FIFA 17 is going to have a story mode, much like, was it NBA 2K16 that had that just recently?
Yeah, that Spike Lee did.
So I haven't played it yet. I think it was free for PlayStation Plus this month. Has anyone played that story mode on the NBA game?
No, I have it downloaded, but I have not played it yet either.
I've played it.
Is the story mode good?
I like it. It's cheesy, but I mean, you expect it to be. So sports games have had campaigns periodically, but nothing really cinematic. They've tried. It's been really bad most occasions. But in this one, even though it is cheesy writing, it is entertaining. It's something to you want to kind of keep going with. It's not so bad you turn it off. It's pretty funny.
Okay, so it's not terrible. Then that's okay. EA is pretty much copying that. It seems they're going to try something new with this latest FIFA. You're going to have a guy. His name's Alex Hunter, and they had this long trailer for the story mode of the FIFA game, and I was like, how much more can they actually be in the game outside of the story mode that you just showed us? So it's okay. I mean, I'm not mad at it. I'm not a FIFA guy. I tried playing it because it's in EA Access, one of the FIFA games is, and I tried playing it. I just don't understand playing FIFA. I can play Madden, I can play golf, I can play even the NBA games, but I don't understand FIFA. I just don't take a liking to soccer, I guess. I don't understand the rules. I also don't quite understand hockey. I know that there's something to do with the two different lines on the field, and then there's I don't know. It's just, if I had more of an understanding about it, I might give it a shot, but as of now, I'm not feeling it. So again, if Mo was here, he would be speaking very highly of all these things, so I'm doing my worst Mo impersonation, I guess, right now. But, moving along, we also had Mass Effect Andromeda, which is a highly anticipated game. Originally was supposed to come out this year, but it will be next year. At least, that's what the assumption is. There was no firm release date given. And it just looks good. It's a new trilogy. It's a new character. You're in a new setting. You're in the Andromeda Galaxy. You're a pioneer trying to find a new place for humanity to live on. And I don't know what the timeline is, if it's supposed to be after the events of Shepard, before, concurrent, whatever it is. But hey, it's more Mass Effect. I love Mass Effect. Donnie, you haven't played any Mass Effect still, is that correct?
That is correct. I have not played a one. Well, you know what? I played Mass Effect 3 for about an hour on Wii U the day I bought it. And then I took Mass Effect 3 back, because I had no idea what I was doing, and it doesn't run so well on Wii U, so I took it back and got something else.
Well, now that you got to play it at some point. I mean, you got a PC that can run it, I'm sure, right?
I own it on PC, and I think I own one or two of them on Xbox back compat. It's just one of those. I tell you, man, that series for whatever reason just never got me interested. Like, the only reason I'm even thinking about ever playing it is because so many people like it so much. It feels like one of those I have tos, but I really feel like it might be like a chore for me to try it out. Like, I don't really want to play it.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it. but I really think that you should be able to, at some point, catch it. I enjoy Mass Effect so much now, Donnie. I know, like, if you gave it a chance, that you would probably find something that you enjoyed if you start with the first one and understand the story. There's so much story there. Again, you're a Zelda guy. You like the story and the lore of Zelda, right?
I do. You know, I don't really play Zelda for the lore. I mean, there's a timeline and stuff like that, but Zelda, the story is more or less the exact same story every game. It's more about the gameplay, and it's really more about the environment and the world in which you operate as Link. The story is kind of very classic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, you know, boy out to save the world and or the girl. So it's a story that you can usually get behind.
Well, this is a girl trying to save the galaxy now, so...
I was going to say, there are games that I'm way more invested into the story. I think that was maybe a poor example. Zelda's not really the story thing for me. There's a you know, more of like a Last of Us or Gears. Like, I really care about the Gears lore and the story. I get way behind, you know, the characters and their relationships with each other. I mean, I feel bad because obviously it's a great game. So many people liked it. It really started to hit my airwaves when the Mass Effect 3 ending thing came out, and I was just like, this is bad, and I want to be a part of it. And now, like I said, now it feels like a chore to go back and do them all. If they were maybe to remaster them all in a collection like Uncharted did, I might pick something like that up and, you know, go into it. But I feel Andromeda, for any, you know, correlation, makes me feel like I'd be stepping in at the wrong point.
Maybe not. I mean, like, we don't know what the timeline is, so this could be a perfect jumping in point, really. That's yet to be understood and seen, so... I think that Mass Effect is awesome. I'm looking forward to finding out more about that. Again, we didn't get a ton of details from this EA conference. This conference was also, another weird thing about it was they had an LA area and an area in England, and so they were shooting back and forth between the two of them, which I like that concept, but, I mean, they're just kind of, I don't know, it didn't really, I'm waiting to see what they do in the next year when they do it properly. You know what I mean? Where they have both people in those two locations, but they can have more excitement and more joy, because during this whole conference, I didn't get any excitement from that crowd. I did not. Did you guys get any feeling from that crowd?
I actually really enjoyed the dual setup.
No, I liked the setup. I just don't think it was executed quite properly.
I didn't mind it. As presentations go, I honestly didn't mind it. I thought it was one of their better ones in years. It looked very professional. The fact that they kept switching back and forth, and they were almost having a conversation on stage, the fact that it worked well, there was no like major hiccups or, you know, breaking up or anything like that, I actually thought, you know, I give them a lot of credit for just for pulling it off, more or less.
Yeah.
So I have low expectations, but yeah, I didn't mind their setup and how it was presented.
Yeah, like I said, the setup and presentation I liked. It's just that crowd that was in there just didn't seem to give off much energy. Like, if you watch the Xbox One or the PlayStation One or the Bethesda one even, the crowd gave you energy in all those scenarios. I just didn't get the energy from the crowd with EA. Maybe that's
I think that has to do more with the announcements.
It's true. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
So that's about...
Also the time of day. You know, remember this happened on Sunday before E3, you know, formal kicks off at like, what was it, like 1 in the afternoon?
Yeah, it was an odd time.
Yeah, it was an odd time. It was early. There was probably still a lot of people that hadn't made it there yet. And then, I mean, a lot of that had to do with their content. If they'd come out with some big Star Wars game, I think you would have had it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so I blame that more than their setup.
Mm-hmm. So, moving on, they introduced EA Originals, and the first studio, or the first game, rather, that's going to be part of this is called Fee. When they first showed this game, I kind of got the Ori and the Blind Forest kind of aesthetic from it, but as they showed more, it was kind of like a platformer in a way. And it looked interesting, but the more I saw of it, the less interested I was. So, Donnie, I think these games are more along your lines. What did you think of Fee?
I've heard it pronounced Fee and Faye. I've heard it pronounced Faye more than Fee. So I'm going to go with that. I don't know. I think it reminds me more of Journey. It definitely borrows Ori's kind of art style. It doesn't move well. Now, we don't know when it's coming, so it could be, you know, it could be very poor. just in quality. Like it not poor as in quality of the game coming out, but it could be early in development because we still don't know, when it's coming. So, things like that tend to get optimized over time. Wouldn't be the first time a game ran. But the gameplay did kind of drop frames quite a bit. So that had me interested, but it definitely has that journey mechanic where you can kind of chirp or call. And it does look like Faye, or the little character in the game, can scale and climb everything. So it's very platformy. I like the art style. I would have liked to have seen more gameplay to make sure that that's not the entire art style. The art style looked great, but it was just very purple and kind of monotone throughout. So you'd want to see maybe different environments, kind of mix it up and make sure that you're not buying into, 10 hours of the same thing over and over again. When they first started talking about it, I was more interested. And then as they kept talking about it, I kind of waned on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of those things like, show me more. And maybe I'll reconsider it. Right.
And so they referenced Unravel from last year, and how that was kind of the genesis of this EA Originals kind of crew. So I'm excited to see what comes of this, because now EA has their indie team, we'll call it. Ubisoft has theirs. So now from these two big publishers, we'll be getting these indie titles. So I'm curious to see what comes of it. I'm also worried for the developer that signs on with EA to be an indie title. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like that's the best match. I mean, EA...
Yeah. I mean, they passed on Rocket League, so look at it right there.
Exactly, right, Rocket League, and they said that they're searching for the next Rocket League, and it's like, what?
Because we missed the first time around, we're going to catch the next Rocket League.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm curious to see what comes of it. I hope that the developer that they find or choose doesn't get eaten up and spat out by the EA machine, if you know what I mean. So, moving on, I touched on this already, the Star Wars, the much anticipated, they had a thing during the FIFA or the FI or FI or FAY, whatever you call it, part where it was like 5 minutes until Star Wars. And so I was like, yay! But then it was like 15 minutes, and then Star Wars finally came. So all they did was it was like a sneak peek stuff. It was just sizzle stuff about background. They did the same kind of thing before. And I was just very underwhelmed, and made the whole conference sour. Just the fact that they just had this little bit of we're working on games, but you already knew that. So, that's basically what it was, right? So I want more information on these Star Wars games, and I hope EA gives it to us sooner than later. I was really hoping that this E3 we would get some solid information, a full trailer or something from some. All I wanted was one full trailer for a new upcoming game, or anything. Just bring out Amy Hennig on the stage and say our new game is going to be doing this or that, and just.
They did bring her out.
No, she was on the stage. She was on a video.
Right. Well, I mean, they showed her. She talked.
For like 15 seconds. I mean, bring her on the stage and let her talk for 2 minutes. I mean, she's a person that I would love to get their thoughts. You know what I mean? Bring them out on the stage and let them talk about their project, because she would have a wealth of information, and, it'd be very interesting to see what she has to say. So, I don't know. I was just soured by this lack of Star Wars. And they ended the conference with Battlefield 1, which, how many times have we seen this Battlefield 1 trailer now? I mean, we've seen it at least 4 times, I think. We've seen it at E3 with this conference, with the Xbox conference. I think we saw it beforehand with the Battlefield 1, just a standalone thing. And there was probably another thing that I'm just not thinking of at this point. But I'm ready for them to have this game out and released and let us really play it, because they did an hour-long live stream of Battlefield 1 gameplay after the conference. But, it's just one of those things where it's their big release for this year, so they had to give it time. They put it at the end of the conference so that people would stick around and find out more about it. And yeah, it looks like a good concept, looks interesting, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. But, I still haven't played Battlefield 4. I still haven't played Battlefield Hardline. And I'm just thinking, is this going to be, even though it's set in a different time period, is that going to be enough to really suck me in, to really want to play the story and to play the multiplayer? Or is it just going to be a gimmick that fades quickly? That's kind of what I'm wondering at this point, is how engaged will it keep gamers? Because let me tell you this, at the PlayStation conference, and I don't want to talk about the other conference because we already have, but they had that Call of Duty demo, or the trailer, rather. Mm-hmm. I was more engrossed in that Call of Duty trailer than I was with anything that they talked about here with Battlefield 1. And that Call of Duty is not a franchise that I'm endeared to by any means. But the setting that they're taking it with the space, it felt very Moonraker to me when they were doing that stuff where he was going out and all they needed was lasers and it would have been Moonraker, right? But I wish that they would have given me something to make me more excited about Battlefield 1. I just didn't get it. I got more of the same, more of what we knew, and now I'm just ready for that game to come out. So it didn't do anything to hinder my excitement or anything to bolster it either. It was just kind of like, here it is. So, yeah. But that was E3 EA in a nutshell, and I mean, that's kind of what I got out of it. What about you, Kevin?
I mean, for me, just to be kind of quick on it, I agree with a lot of the points you made there, but the big highlights for me, Titanfall 2, as I touched upon earlier, that looks great. Very excited for that. Mass Effect, once again, really excited. I wish they showed more other than the cinematography behind it. Like, I wanted a little bit more of that, maybe some gameplay, something, but, still excited for that one. FIFA 17, I like what they're trying to do. And actually, in the game, I have no problem with them doing it, the single-player thing. But the guy that came out and gave his little speech, and everyone's kind of like, well, who the hell are you? For like 5 minutes he went on for, and then they showed the game, and you're like, oh, okay, he's supposed to be that character. So that was a little weird. Overall, yeah, I give it like a C, this whole conference for them. I mean, it had some substance to it, but I think the delivery was just poor. As you said, the crowd kind of just fell flat. It was almost like a sales pitch as opposed to a conference where you want to see people cheer, you want to see people get excited. It was just kind of like everyone's sitting there and just watching it happen in front of them, and that was it. Battlefield, I'm in the same boat with you. Not really interested in it. The trailer didn't really add anything extra for me, but I mean, to each their own. I think the Battlefield versus Call of Duty market, I think there are players that appreciate either side. I don't think there's a whole heck of a lot of crossover gamers. I think you either like Call of Duty or like Battlefield. For me, I'm not really on board with either, but same as you, the Call of Duty trailer got me a heck of a lot more excited than the Battlefield one did. So that's my thoughts. Donnie, how about you?
Well, I think Titanfall 2 looks amazing. Really up there for one of my surprises of show. That trailer came out and they grapple hooked that dude out of the sky. I was like, holy snap. And this game is already doing a lot more with the partner system than Scalebound for me. So I think that game looks really, really good. I think EA thought that game would hit big, like come out with the big game. It's got the single player, but a lot of it leaked early, so it kind of took a little of the wind out of their sails. So, and that, that's just going to happen, and it's a little unfortunate for them. I love the Madden editions. I'll step in for Mo here. The Madden editions I thought were really, really awesome. I do wonder, so we got these live events, and they're going to supporting more, online competitive stuff, and then we've got Xbox doing arenas. How close are we inching towards gambling with something that I kept on thinking about as we kept watching E3? I was like, oh, man, I can already see where this is going pretty early off. Mass Effect, Star Wars, Nathan, just kind of in response to your overall feeling, I can empathize with you. Because you sound a lot like I did about the Sony conference, and I think in our cases, our expectations got the better out of us. If I didn't come into the EA's conference expecting to see Star Wars, I thought they would, but I wasn't expecting to. So for me, their show wasn't all that bad. I don't think they had a whole lot to show. I was really kind of upset not to see some sort of big EA Access announcement. I always think that they should have something like that, some big game that they're going to throw into that service at every conference. And then Battlefield 1, I think it's interesting how, 60 days can change the opinion. When Battlefield 1 was first shown, everybody was excited to go back. Everybody for the last, when I say everybody, I'm speaking more along the general tone of the audience that we are privy to. They're all like, I'm so sick and tired of Battlefield 4 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and this is, it's all going so high tech. I miss the old days. And Battlefield, I think EA tried to, double down and capitalize on that. They've constantly been trying to make up ground on Call of Duty. So, they're like, we'll give them what we want. And in this case, I think they missed, because little did the gaming folks know that they wanted that until Call of Duty showed what they're doing. And I think now you're seeing people go, nope, we still want that Call of Duty thing. It still looks pretty awesome. I know for me, Call of Duty upped their game of show. That trailer is still probably the most impressive trailer I've seen all week. That trailer rocked. That is how you do a trailer, in my opinion. So, all in all, I think the conference was good. They have to talk about their sports games. And I know a lot of folks that aren't sports gamers, they just yawn, and they go, yawn, sports. But this is their bread and butter. Again, sticking it for Mo, I feel oftentimes gamers forget just how important sports games are to the industry as a whole. Just kind of how sports games have really carried gaming for like a decade. The Maddens and the wrestling and the baseball games of the world, they kind of, they give EA the money to make a Titanfall 2 or to make a Battlefield 1. All these things kind of spin off from their sports franchises. So I like their additions, especially to Madden. It's tweaking it. It's giving it something new. It feels fresh for the first time in a while. So I'm way behind it. I will say in the same vein, I'm starting to drop off the Madden thing. I'm starting to drop off the EA Sports thing because they're so simulation. It's kind of hard to get into. Like, if you don't play a Madden game for like 2 years and you try to pick up a controller, you are lost. I mean, they're very complex now with dual sticks and dual triggers and, button combinations and, field plays. I mean, you really got to know your stuff. So the people that do buy those games every year, they do. And this is what they do. They play Madden leagues, and they play, a game every week, and they have online leagues with their friends, and the people that are really good, they do these big international competitions. So I'm glad that they're supporting that. And, I would almost say, to maybe something that hits home for us, it's kind of cool that they're doing this. Is kind of what I want Nintendo to do with Smash. Not to the extent where they make it super complicated, but I would love for them to support the competitive gameplay more. If Nintendo had hit with their Smash tournament, like maybe EA will hit with their Madden, leagues and stuff, it may have been a big boon for them, and I think they kind of missed on that. So, all in all, it was a good conference. It was an amazing conference, and that's really all I can say for EA.
I think I would give it a D.
Ooh, shots fired.
I was going to say I'd give it a B, but giving it a B means it's like above average, and I don't think it is above average. I think it is average, so... you're probably right there with a C. That's probably right, Kevin.
There you go. The biggest thing for me with Star Wars is, like, you have all these titles in the works. If you don't have anything to show, I can totally understand that, but how do you not at least then talk about the story? Show some concept art. Show something to throw out there. The problem really with that and Mass Effect is that they showed and talked about them so early. If we had just learned that Amy Hennig was working on the Star Wars game, and they just said that yesterday, we'd all be excited. But we've known about it because it all leaked, and the industry got everybody talking, and, that's on EA's fault for not addressing it. I get that, but I really feel like it's because we've known. If we had not known, it probably wouldn't have been such a big deal. That's true. All right, so moving off from EA and on to the next publisher, we will talk a little bit about Bethesda. So being the huge Bethesda fanboy that I am, I will tackle this one myself. Honestly, I wasn't as excited about this year's presentation as last year's was. I think last year definitely was a heck of a lot better, but I do think there were a couple things here that got me excited to pick apart. And so we'll go through this probably fairly quickly because a lot of this stuff doesn't really generate a lot of excitement or we already knew about it kind of deal. But they kicked the show off with Quake Champions. I was kind of excited to see Quake come up, and then, the trailer looked pretty cool. Quake has always been known for, like, super fast frame rates and just, quick action. The one thing that I noticed that I didn't catch it during the conference, but I caught it after, is that this is going to be exclusive to PC. So, like, right off the bat, I'm like, oh, okay, I was excited, but now it doesn't really matter for me, but it's cool to see him bring back the franchise after all these years. After that, they talked a bit about Elder Scrolls Legends, which is a free-to-play card game that's currently in beta, and it will be coming to iPhone, Mac, and Android later this year. It's already on PC. Looked okay. I do occasionally play some of the card game, different things, so I might give this a shot, but overall it's kind of whatever. Then they announced the additional DLC for Fallout 4. we knew it was kind of coming, but we didn't know what it was going to be. First one was contraptions, where you can kind of set up Rube Goldberg type devices and kind of mess with that in your environments. So it was kind of like, all right, whatever. Then you have a vault creator, which that's kind of cool. Some of the highlights in the Fallout series are going to be the different vaults, and you can experiment on your vault dwellers and stuff like that. So if you don't play Fallout, you're probably like, that seems kind of weird. If you do play Fallout, you know that every vault had people there, and they were each experimented on in different ways for different reasons. So it's kind of cool. You'll be able to play that role yourself. And then lastly, the biggest one is the Nuka World expansion, which was rumored before. It's great to see it was confirmed, where basically you're going to play a bad guy for once. You're going to be one of the raiders that have taken over, basically said the equivalent to like a Hershey Park type environment, an abandoned theme park in a post-apocalyptic world. So really excited to see more of that. I did enjoy Far Harbor, as I mentioned numerous times, so I think this will be right up my alley there. So a little excited for that. Then they announced the Skyrim remaster that will be dropping on October 28th, and it will bring mod support on consoles, just like Fallout 4 is too. So even if you've played Skyrim on the consoles, you didn't get to experience the different mods and stuff that people have done, and there's been some amazing stuff done with mods on the PC version, so it'll be really kind of cool to see this. Overall, I'm not sure exactly how many people are going to jump back in, only because it's such a massive game that if you've spent a ton of time in it, you may or may not want to dive back into it. Me, myself, I played it a bit on PlayStation 3, didn't get too deep into it, so I'm willing to give this one a shot, considering how much I like their open world games, but I'm more of a Fallout guy. But I'm definitely interested to see what this looks like and give it another shot. Then next was Prey, which is a reboot of the previous Prey. Prey 2 was in development for a long time and eventually scrapped, so everyone thought that this was going to be the sequel where it's a reimagining thing. They didn't show any gameplay. As far as I could tell, they didn't show any gameplay of it at all during E3. They tried to find something. They just had a pretty cool trailer that kind of really grabbed you. Basically, it's set on a space station in the future, and it's about a humanity-altering experiment gone wrong. Basically, looks like a sci-fi version of Groundhog's Day. Supposed to play similar to Dishonored, in the fact that your character has these abilities and can take abilities from the aliens that he encounters throughout the game as well. So, excited to see more on that. They're finally making the multiplayer improvements to Doom that people have been kind of complaining about there, where majority of people are saying Doom single-player campaign is pretty cool, but the multiplayer isn't that awesome. Well, they're looking to fix that. New modes coming out, as well as a DLC pack with additional maps, a new demon you can be, new armor, etc., etc. Then they announced that a demo was out featuring the whole first level of the Doom single-player game, which that is kind of cool. Then they talked about Elder Scrolls Online. Not really my thing. I was actually quite shocked when they said it has 7 million players, because I don't know a single person that plays that, but apparently they're out there. It will be launching in Japan soon and getting a new Dark Brotherhood expansion, which that did look kind of cool, but it's not for me. But I'll be interested to see what it does in Japan, because we all know they love their MMOs, so it might take off. And then lastly, they spent a great chunk of time on Dishonored 2. They talked more about the story and the game characters, and then announced that it will be releasing on November 11th. So for me, the highlights in this press conference, it was cool to see Quake come back. I'm excited for the Fallout DLC, obviously, the Skyrim remaster. I want to know more about Prey, and Dishonored 2, I think, is one of the best games that were shown at the show this year. The game looks amazing. The additions of the new character, Emily, I think is going to be cool, and some of her abilities they highlighted were pretty awesome. So, and obviously they're not going to show all their cards yet, but they spent a good chunk of time showing some gameplay. Looks pretty awesome, so it's up there on my watch list for sure. Donnie, what did you think about Bethesda showing at E3 this year?
Well, one of my predictions / requests came true, and we got that Skyrim HD remaster, and I'm super excited to get it. I love Skyrim. It's a great world. It's a great game. It's one of those tentpole games, not just for Bethesda, but for gamers. It's one of those games that really set a new bar, and getting a super special version of it, as good as it can be, is only good for everybody. I've made the prediction, I think Skyrim outsells Dishonored. I'm very interested to see if that happens. I think it will. Quake doesn't do much for me. Elder Scrolls Online does nothing for me. Doom is great. Doom looks awesome. We still yet to play it. I played I'd say a demo, not a beta. I played a demo, like you can play like the first level as much as you want for free, and I downloaded it and played it. I do want to get that game. I'll probably catch it used. Don't play Fallout. Prey. I thought Prey was one of the better trailers of the show. Prey really surprised me. I like Prey. It kind of jumps on that horror vibe. I thought the trailer was really good, like really Bethesda good, so I'm very excited to see more about that in coming years. Over on the conference, Kevin, I feel like Bethesda probably shouldn't have their own show. Not because what they do isn't quality. I mean, they're one of the best developers in the business. It's just that it doesn't seem like the content is there to warrant a big stage presence. Especially, everybody's got a card game these days. It's something. It's like a trend that we see. Every game has a companion card game. I mean, Elder Scrolls Legends didn't look bad, but I mean, it's just how many more of these are we going to have? And I would have much rather seen some of these announcements show up as big pop moments at other conferences. I think it may have done more for Bethesda to spread it out a bit as opposed to doing all of it. But overall, the conference is good. I'm super happy for Skyrim Remaster. Prey has my attention. I'd give them, if we're gonna grade them on the school brick, I'd give them a B. It's a solid B conference.
Yeah, let's keep going with this grading process. I like it. So I'd give them a B as well. I can 100% agree with you, even though I'm a huge Bethesda fan, that they might do better partnering with other people for their releases, because we got to remember that they've had really good success over the last couple of years, to be honest, but they're not as big as a lot of these other developers. So I'm just happy that they are a conference, because if you pull them, I mean, you look at it, we only have 3 publishers have a conference. You pull that out, we're down to 2, really, and it's kind of like, I want to see the more press conferences, the better. Downplay it, maybe do a half hour instead of an hour or something, but yeah, I just like seeing the conferences regardless of who they are, what they're showing. It's just interesting to watch, so I'm with that. But yeah, I can totally see what you mean, that they didn't have a ton of substance to talk about. I mean, there was a lot of DLC talk, which, don't get me wrong, Bethesda does great DLC products kind of on all their titles, but they certainly didn't have enough, things to pop out and just say, like, hey, we're dropping this game, like they did last year. They just didn't have as much stuff to show off, so I can see where you're coming from. Nathan, how'd you feel about Bethesda at E3?
I'm not... You're the Bethesda fan. I am always looking in the window and seeing how pretty and how much fun everybody's having, but I'm just like, it's okay. I don't need to be in there. But I want to be excited for Dishonored 2. I really do. I still haven't played the first one, though. So one of these days, I need to get around to playing it. I have the definitive edition to play, but I just haven't played it yet. As far as the other content that they showed, Prey doesn't really do much for me. I wasn't beholden to the original series, and this just looks like, looks Portal-ish in a way. The Skyrim remaster, I never played Skyrim, but I mean, I highly doubt I would get around to it this time even, but I like that they did a remaster. A lot of people were looking for it, like Donnie, but I'm glad that it's at least there and available. So, with the Fallout 4 DLC, again, doesn't do anything for me. I do have the season pass for Fallout 4, but I still have yet to play that game. So I want to be excited for Dishonored 2. There was the crowd, they had energy, they were excited. I was surprised Todd Howard wasn't there.
Yeah,
because he was a big presence there last time, and
yeah, definitely.
You could really feel. To me, comparing this one to last time, it's just like you could feel there was a palpable difference. And I was just like, man, Todd Howard. I mean, if he would have come here, I think he would have livened this crew up and brought the energy. But maybe he's just the Fallout guy, possibly. Maybe all he wants to talk about is Fallout. So he didn't really need to come out for Dishonored or for Quake or anything, but I give this one, like you guys, I give this one a B. So B for Bethesda, and I think that it was an adequate conference, but still, that first day of E3, man, with EA and with Bethesda, it was just kind of a faltering start for me, and I was like, oh no, is this a sign for the entire conference? But luckily, it got better. But the 2 worst, I think, were on the first day.
I agree with you. It definitely wasn't the start to E3 I think anybody wanted, but I don't know. I agree with you. It wasn't how you want to start off. You want somebody to really pop and get everyone excited. At least the crowd at this one was kind of behind them, and Bethesda always has, like the fans that come and cosplay all stuff, and their pre-show, I did watch a little bit of their pre-show as well too, and they kind of hype things up a little bit before then and get you excited. But overall, I'm like, kind of universal. We all kind of gave it the B there. So we will move on to Ubisoft, which had the this one's tough for me. So I'll start by giving my grade first on this one. So I'll give it a B+. I'll say it sneaked out past Bethesda for me, but only just barely because the length of this conference actually, in my opinion, hurt it very badly. And it kind of took a little bit away from me, some of the excitement. So Aisha Tyler hosting yet again. I believe she said this is her 5th year in a row, so good for her. She's got a steady gig going with this. I enjoy her as a host. It brings a little bit different perspective to it than some of the other conferences do. Kicked it off the same way as they've done for the last couple of years with Just Dance. Kind of slipped it in there like, oh, hey, by the way, it's coming to all consoles, including the NX. But nobody wants to talk about the NX. It's not real. But they dropped it and said it. It's coming. Not for me, but hey, they sell decently, I guess. They keep making them, so they got to be doing something there. But the second game here, this one intrigued me a little bit. Actually, not a little bit, a lot more. And this was Ghost Recon Wildlands. It shows the the spread of cocaine across Bolivia, and Ghost Recon's role in this game is hunting down the gangs, producing the drugs, and shipping them around the world. Unlike Rainbow Six Siege, where the teams work together in like small spaces and tight corridors, like kind of very controlled environments, this one is way open. And the demo they showed, I think, was actually really awesome. It got me super excited for this game, seeing the online multiplayer type thing, where your squad works in tandem over like huge areas. You can separate and take out enemies how you want. Like they had 2 guys approach from one side, somebody else came another way, some other guy was taking care of snipers. Even during the escape portion, you had cars, motorcycles, and helicopters all involved. So I see this being a really cool multiplayer game for online. I'm normally not the multiplayer guy. This one may make me the multiplayer guy. I think this was great. Not coming out till 2017, March 7th to be specific. Looking forward to seeing more, and I want to see some live gameplay as opposed to kind of the one they presented. But for me, it looked really, really cool and kind of took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be like this. The next game they talked about was South Park: The Fractured But Whole, which for me has the best title of any game probably ever. They did mention if you pre-order now, you'll receive a current gen version of the Stick of Truth for free. Overall, I mean, it looked like you would be playing an episode of South Park. The animation was spot on. The voice acting was, genuine. They changed the combat system. It's more tile-based, so kind of think like Fire Emblem. Each character can move a certain amount of spaces. And your farts can rip a hole in the fabric of time. So, I mean, hey, why not? And then the highlight for me on this one is, Kanye West is a gay fish trying to get to heaven. Who doesn't love that? New DLC was announced.
He loves fish sticks.
He loves fish sticks.
Yes, you forgot that part.
I did forget that part. You're right. Thank you for catching that. They announced the new DLC for The Division called Survival. Focuses on the effects of weather and how it affects the situations in the game. They showed a snowstorm, people kind of scrounging for food. Looks pretty cool. I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what Nathan thinks when we get to your thoughts on this, Nathan, to see where it goes. Because for me, I think they've missed out on a lot of players that adopted early, and because of all the issues this game has had, are they going to go back? Or have we all just moved on from The Division and forgetting about it? For me, they announced this one and they announced that another one was coming soon. I think personally, as a good faith effort, they should have dropped one and said, hey, this is going to be free because of all the issues we've had if you already own The Division. They didn't, alas, so I'm interested what Nathan's thoughts are since he spent a lot of time with The Division. They jumped into VR games. The Star Trek one, which you'd think a Star Trek game would probably get a bigger reaction from the crowd, but it looked really dated, which was kind of weird. And then they had that strange Eagle game where you flew around and yelled at each other and killed people with that. So that was kind of weird. Presentation was a little rough, which I know presenting VR games is always going to be kind of an issue considering you can't see it. But the way they kind of used the cameras in the presentation just didn't do it justice, I think. It probably looked a lot cooler if you had the helmet on, but it is what it is. Then they showed For Honor, which we've seen a few times in the past. There was a new trailer and gameplay shown. They announced the release date, February 14th, so, great way for Valentine's Day. They announced a sequel to Grow Home, which is Grow Up. The announcement trailer, you play as the little red robot who grows a giant beanstalk to get into outer space. So that's coming. A lot of people liked the first one. I had not played it, but was always intrigued and almost picked it up last time it was on sale, but I didn't. Then they announced Trials of the Blood Dragon, a crossover of Trials and Far Cry Blood Dragon. Very 80s and very awesome. And they announced, hey, it's out right now, so you can download it and play it. I'd rather have an actual sequel to the Blood Dragon game, but hey, we didn't get that. But and then the next to last title they showed more was Watch Dogs 2, which obviously they spent time prior to E3 kind of unveiling it. They did like a 10-minute long making of behind the scenes / trailer and gameplay there, but they showed a little bit more. I'm still really excited for this game. I did enjoy the first one, and like a lot of people said they had issues with it. I had fun with it, and it looks like they really listened to the fans, and they're fixing the issues and having a lot more fun with this one. So this is one of my most anticipated games coming out of E3 is Watch Dogs 2, which is coming out this year, of course, during the fall. And then the last title they showed, which was a little weird, it's called Steep. It's an open world game, but there's no fighting, there's no wars, there's no really anything. It's an open world extreme sports game. Releasing in December, will support VR. I'm sure it probably looks really cool in VR. But it's not really a game. It's more like an experience. You can hop in and do your extreme sports on a snow-covered mountain, but there's no like goals or anything like that. So it's a little weird for me. So overall, I think Ubisoft had some big highlights. For me, it would be Ghost Recon, Watch Dogs 2, and then South Park for me. I thought they were all great titles, and I just think that Ubisoft went on way too long. I mean, they were a 2-hour mark or over the 2-hour mark. They need to trim that down a bit and get it down to an hour tops. I mean, when you go on longer than like Sony and Xbox, that's a problem right there. But overall, a good show. Like I said, I gave it a B+, just inching out Bethesda for me, but they did it. So we will go now to Nathan. Your thoughts on Ubisoft?
Ubisoft for me is also a B+, again inching out the Bethesda conference, but it came down to I was excited about Ghost Recon Wildlands. Really, it was impressive. It reminded me a lot, honestly, of The Division in the way that you could play together with your friends. The multiplayer intrigues me the most, the 4-player co-op kind of missions. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most is, as far as any game out of their conference, is the Ghost Recon Wildlands. So, Fractured Butthole, I mean, I love the title. I love
Can't say it without laughing.
Yeah. You know, I love the little things like, Marvel came to us, they were wanting the fractured butthole, but we had it first, and so they had to go with Civil War. So I love the fact that they're so tongue-in-cheek, they're great. That demo looked amazing. It looked really good. They were playing the game, and just, he's like, oh, go take a seat. And then you go around and you just press buttons, and he's like, not that one. And, that's for Mysterio or something like that. He's just the different things. It's just kind of funny, but I haven't played the Stick of Truth yet. I have it on Xbox 360. I have the disc, actually, and it's on backwards compatibility, so I can throw it on my Xbox One and play it. But I'm looking forward to that game. And actually, if you pre-order it, you get the next-gen version for free. So if you pre-order the new version, you get the Stick of Truth for Xbox One or PS4, I think, for free. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
it is. You have to pre-buy it, though, not pre-order. So you're going to pay for full, get your Stick of Truth right away, and then you wait for... Yeah, exactly. So right. if you're not a digital person, a little bit of conflict there. But yes, if you pre-buy it digitally, you do get it right away.
Yeah. You were going to say something, Donnie?
I was just going to reiterate that it was a digital-only deal.
Right, okay. So, looking forward to that. That'll be fun. I mean, it looks just like the show, which, I mean, the one on 360 and PS3 did as well, I guess, but this just looks really good, you guys. I mean, I haven't had South Park in my life for a long time. Just, I've kind of fallen away from the show and things like that, but yeah. I'm ready. It looks hilarious, and I just want to play it. I like it. And like you said, with The Division, I haven't played that game as much as I had, originally, because I played a ton of The Division. And it's not for any, particular reason. It's just I wanted to broaden my horizons. I wanted to play some more games. I went back to The Witcher and some other things. But I am looking forward to this new content. It looked good to me. Like, the survival looked really interesting. I'm excited to see how it actually works, when it comes out. I want to see how they factor this all in. And if it pulls in the rest of my team, the rest of my crew, we all have it. None of us have traded it in or gotten rid of it or anything. But I want to make sure everybody that I play with is in on this too. Because as far as I know, only myself and one other of my crew have the expansion pass. So we're the only ones that are guaranteed to get it. Actually, one other person does, I think, so maybe 3 of us will. But it's just one of those things where you need your crew to go in and do this stuff to really, be excited about it. And I just don't know if people have really kind of gone away from the game. It was a great game. It is a great game. But when you get to the end-game content, it just kind of starts to be like, okay, I mean, now we got this loop again. And it's the whole thing with Destiny when you get that loop and it's just kind of But with this content, I'm excited to go in and check it out at least, right? Because I want to go in there and see what they did. Because if it's more storyline content, I'll be excited for that. Honestly, the story was good. I liked the story. So if it's that, I'm in. And if it's kind of more of that in-game content loop stuff, I'm not so excited about it. But from what I see, it looks like they're actually going to put something interesting in it that's not just going to be that in-game content kind of loopiness, if you know what I mean. So, looking forward to that. The VR games look terrible, sorry. Both of them looked absolutely horrid. If that's VR, count me out. But I do like LeVar Burton being on stage and talking to Aisha Tyler. I mean, I love LeVar Burton.
Who doesn't?
He's so
Reading
great.
Rainbow, bro.
Exactly. I was hoping he was gonna be like do do do, or what was that song? I can't remember the song. The Reading Rainbow song. I always wanted him to like do it on the way out on the stage more than the Star Trek song. It was just great. For Honor looked really good too. I didn't really know much about that game going in, but that trailer looked really cool. It reminded me a lot of Rise, honestly.
Yep.
Which Donnie, you played Rise?
Yes, I have.
Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, that was the thing when we were doing the live blog. The first thing I said is, this is a better version of Rise.
Better, maybe just a few years later, right? I mean, a little more advancement possibly, but it reminded me a ton of that, and it's very stylish, but at the same time, I'm like, well, what is this? I don't know anything about this game. It looks interesting. They have my attention. It's not like these VR crappy games. I'm not completely writing them off. But again, I think this game really has to execute well. It's dangerous because this could come out and be like, a 6 or a 7 game, honestly, from what I saw. But if they have a really compelling story and really good mechanics for the combat, then it'll be like a 9 or an 8, and easily an 8. So I'm curious to see when that game actually comes out. It's releasing on Valentine's Day, which is an odd date for a game release. Usually that February time frame for a game or movie is the go and die period.
Obviously. It worked for Deadpool.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously it worked for Deadpool because that was a love movie. So it's one of those things where I'm curious just to see how it does. February is just a weird time for it. And I just, when I saw the Trials of the Blood Dragon, I got excited because I love Trials. And I have Blood Dragon, but I haven't played it yet, but I know exactly what it's all about, that whole 80s action movie aesthetic thing.
So good.
I need to play it. It needs to come on backwards compatibility so I can just play it on my Xbox One.
Yeah.
But Trials of the Blood Dragon looks great. If I wasn't on the no-buying hiatus thing, I would have bought in that game just on the sheer principle of it's Trials and it's Blood Dragon. Yes, just give it to me now. It looked fun. And Steep, I don't know. I mean, it looks interesting. I want to like it. I really do. But at the same time, I don't care.
Yep. It's a weird concept. You'd think it's a great idea. It's just a weird concept. Yeah.
It looks amazing. Like that mountain range looks really cool. But it's just, like you said, they treated this as a huge reveal. They treated this as the CEO of the company is going to come out. He likes to introduce new things. I'm like, ooh, what's this going to be? And then it was this GoPro game. It was, right? It's a GoPro game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the exclamation point that's supposed to be at the end of your show.
Yeah, it's like a question mark at the end of the show. Steep?
Exactly. Steep?
So, I mean, it looks fantastically stunning. It looks excellent. And, I mean, maybe in a year I'll be eating my words and be like, oh, Steep's amazing. Give me Steep 2. But I doubt that. I would. This is a game that I would rent, maybe, just to see what it's all about, because, SSX are good. Those are good games. But I don't know, this just looks weird. The windsuit thing kind of would be interesting, but at the same time, just doing that Like, literally being in a windsuit and going down a mountain, oh my god, that would be crazy adrenalizing and I'm going to die any moment type feeling, right? But in a game, I just do not think that they can capture it. I could be wrong, but I just don't think it's going to happen. And Watch Dogs, I feel like I've seen enough Watch Dogs now. I just want to play it, so I was kind of done with that. But yeah, EA was terrible. This was a lot better. And this was in my opinion, of the third parties, the best of the third parties.
I agree. Donnie, your thoughts?
So, you guys ready to argue? I really enjoyed Ubisoft's conference, and I would give them an A.
Wow.
And I realized that it was long, and I realized there was some really bad moments. But before I go down the bullets, everybody just kind of crossed, and I'll try to stay away from topics that have already been covered. They legitimately have 3, maybe 4 claims to Game of Show, or at least contenders. And in my mind, that's a lot more than you can say for most everybody else that presented. I'm with you, Kevin. I thought Ghost Recon looked amazing. I was picking up like a multiplayer Metal Gear Solid 5 with friends vibe. I believe they said they have over 100 missions that you can play, and while we were live blogging, we had fans of the community, fans of the podcast, tweeting, I would love to get this game if I had friends to play with. And hell, I mean, that's why we have a website. That's why we have a forum. Anybody who wants to play some Ghost Recon, I'm down. I'll buy that game if we have 3 or 4 people that will commit to playing it with me.
And that's why Xbox has looking for group. That's
right. That game looks so much fun. So I was really high on that game. I thought that game looked great. South Park's presentation was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I guess we're going to skip over the adult versions of that show.
Yes, we're a family-friendly podcast, so let's keep it clean.
I let my wife watch it. She couldn't believe it. She's like, we were both just laughing. Like, we couldn't believe they went where they went. But the game looks incredible. I played the Stick of Truth. The Stick of Truth was really good. It was fun. It got repetitive. It's kind of long. This looks like it's not going to suffer from that because it's got all the new additions to the gameplay and the RPG systems and the story with the whole Civil War tie-in. And I mean, this is great. This is one of those Game of Show contenders. I thought it was fantastic. I don't care about the Division. Sorry, Nathan, to skip over that. I thought Eagle Flight actually looked like a legit game for VR. I think what you guys are missing out on, it's like this capture the flag thing, where you got to go pick up the thing and bring it back to base,
I'm not
and you play on teams.
Nope, I
so, I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot of VR games that have captured my attention. That was one of them. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was neat. It was kind of arcadey. The Star Trek thing was terrible. Oh my, that game looked so bad. It looked like a MS-DOS game. The way those character animations were going. I love For Honor. Another live blog, thing that got some hits on the Twitter. I found a lot of people that agreed with me. Visually, the game looks great. They have multiple heroes that you can play through that have their own campaign. So you get a little more replay ability than you got with Rise. A little more meat on the bone than you get with Rise. Plus, it has multiplayer. The fact that you can blend, the Vikings and Samurai, and you can blend them together, I thought was great. And, Rise was a button masher, and I like a good button masher. I really do. But this game looks to have a little bit more complexity to the controls. So I think there'll be more of the, you'll get more out of it the more time you put into it type of deal, which I'm always down for. I hate Grow Home, which is one of those things that when that game came out, if you know the type of games that I like to play, you'd probably be like, Donnie, you should play this. It's up your alley. And I thought it was, and I bought it, and it was one of my regrets of last year having bought that game. I just didn't like it. So I hated that announcement. I would have much rather seen a Shroud of Light sequel or something along that line. Trials of the Blood Dragon, I mean, again, I loved Ubisoft's conference because they kind of gave me everything that I expect to get out of a conference. They gave me something today. Hey, by the way, here's this game you get today. They gave me something to look forward to in the holiday. Yep, we got Watch Dogs 2, this awesome game. They gave me something to look forward to in the horizon. Early 2017, you're getting Ghost Recon Wildlands. And then they gave me something to look towards in the far future. We got Steep, we've got For Honor, South Park's coming out in January, so it's not that far off. And unlike you guys, I like Steep. I think it's hilarious that for a long time I've been listening to podcasts and reading blogs where people go, we need more snowboarding games, and why hasn't SSX Tricky comes back? And then here comes Ubisoft with this game, and everybody hates on it. I don't like the way they presented it. I do agree with you, Nathan, making it the back end of your... If they would have swapped that in Watch Dogs, maybe the game would have gotten more reception. They also gave it a lot of time. But, Nathan, I'm surprised you didn't like it, because I was getting some Forza Horizon 3 vibes off this game. It's got drop-in and drop-out play, where you can join races. They've got different modes. They've got point battles where you can do tricks. They've got different modes in terms of skiing, snowboarding, parachuting, gliding, all that stuff. I thought it was neat. I signed up for the beta. I want to see it. I'm not saying it's going to be Game of the Year, but I thought it was cool that Ubisoft was trying to make a sports game. This is a game that has no representation on next gen right now. Or current gen. We haven't seen a game like this in years. So I was glad that they kind of went to the well and said, you know what? People used to like that. Let's see if we can bring that back to them. And then it was funny. I will say the worst moment of all was the Just Dance thing, which, they have to do because they sell millions. It was nice that they made, an attempt to say something, about the tragedy that happened in Orlando last week. I thought it was poorly envisioned to do that with giraffes and 70s characters and everything behind him. Yep. Aisha Tyler could have not brought them all in together to do it. They could have pushed everybody out and just let her say it on her own. So the conference had some up and downs, but it gave me everything that I want out of a conference, and it gave us big games. Like I said, of all the people that brought games to show, I don't think anybody brought the games that Ubisoft brought. Like, they brought games to play. Like, here's games you get to play now. Here's games you get to play in 2017. Here's games you got coming in 2018. There's a game out today, and they were good games.
And here's a movie.
Accounts. Yeah, by all accounts, they were, the content isn't just content. It's good content. Trials of the Blood Dragon, like, hey, this is out today. I tried a Trials game. I think one of them came to PlayStation Plus not long ago. It's a really cool game. I'm just not really into the dirt biking whole thing of it. But you throw this 80s pop flair all over it, and I was actually kind of like, I'd give that a try. It looked like a lot of fun. So, it was one of my better shows of the conference, even though it did run long. I agree with you. But that's not what I'm grading. I'm not grading just their entire presentation. I'm more or less grading the content. That's really what I care about E3. What are you giving me? And they give me what I wanted. I have really no major complaints.
When I looked at a title like Steep, I really want it to be an English proper simulator where you're trying to get that tea just perfect and you're steeping it just the right amount of time. That's a VR experience if you ever want to.
That game looks amazing. You were spot on. That game looks beautiful. I'm hoping when this game comes back next year and they officially unveil it, or didn't they give it a release date? Isn't it sooner than we think?
It is December. I didn't catch the specific day, but it is releasing in December.
Man, when I get a hold of that beta, I hope there's some modes in there that we don't know about. I hope there's more to it than just skiing and jumping off a cliff. There might not be, but I hope there is. And if there is, I'm going to be really excited.
So, yeah, a couple of points that popped in my head as you guys were talking. So, yeah, Steep, reminds you of drinking tea properly, which you do with your pinkies up, much like you should do when eating the new Chicken Doubledilla from Taco Bell. Also, it's strange that Ubisoft, like, we've all given them good praise. I don't think any of us really said anything that bad about their presentation. And they did all this without their flagship Assassin's Creed title this year. So what does that say about that?
They had the movie representation.
Yeah, but nobody's going to go see that, let's be honest.
I'm going to go see it. Michael Fassbender's good.
I'll go see
That's true. Nathan will go see anything, and Donnie's going to regret it. So, it'll work.
Man.
Nathan can write off as a work tax deductible, for that's entertaining pod. So, yeah, it works. Shoot, there's one last thing I was thinking of. Oh, so Steve, people want an SSX Tricky. This is not an SSX Tricky. That's my problem with it, and that's kind of why I wasn't that excited. I would love a true SSX game to come back, and not like the last one that came out, which I had fun with, but it wasn't the same feeling of excitement I got with the GameCube version of, SSX. That generation was much, much better. But
it's got a trick point mode. That's more or less.
Yeah, but I want the crazy levels, and I want the over-the-top characters, and that's.
But we don't know that that's not there.
Yeah.
That'll be DLC.
We don't know. Yeah, they just released an 80s version of Far Cry Cross motorcycle thing.
That's true.
We don't know.
I want
That's true.
Blood Dragon. That's what we want.
No, you got to do
Blood Dragon Steep.
Steep and the Raving Rabbids. Let's do that.
Zombie Use Steep Edition.
The other thing that of note with Ubisoft is they had, I think, the most diverse portfolio of games too. So you had, some pseudo sports games, you had RPGs, you had shooters, you had adventure games, you had, motocross games, you had indie games, you had VR games, as terrible as they were, and you had dancing games. So they had a little bit for everybody. Like, I think anybody can watch Ubisoft's conference and at least would find at least one game that you're like, I can dig this, And then the release dates they have are actually really well spaced out. So you look at the titles I'm interested in. So you got Watch Dogs, which is, when's that coming out? Is that September or November?
I think that's October.
October, right in the middle? Okay, so either way, you're looking at pre-holiday. Then you look at South Park dropping in January. And you look at Ghost Recon Wildlands coming out in March. To me, that's perfectly spaced out for me. So I'm on board with that.
Here's one thing I wish.
Yes.
I would have given them an A if they were a little tighter, a little shorter.
Yep.
And I would have given them an A+ if they would have given me something with Splinter Cell.
I feel like you guys are being overly harsh on them. I think you're detracting away from the little and not properly crediting the quantity of the lot.
No, but I am. But it would have been perfect had they tightened it up and given me Splinter Cell.
B pluses
Bethesda
are not
didn't
bad.
give us, in my opinion, Bethesda didn't give us half what Ubisoft gave us.
True, but we were all in agreement that this is the best of the third party.
Nobody's
but
arguing.
You gave them a B and you gave Ubisoft a B+. Your grading scale's pretty harsh. You guys are some rough teachers.
So we'll save the arguing for our next conference, which we're going to let Donnie take over. And I'm going to preface this with, Donnie, we need to keep this tight. Let's not go on for an hour.
What's tight? Yeah, you got to give me...
I will give you 5 minutes to talk about. I'm just kidding. No, you take your time doing it, but let's just stay mindful with the schedule here. And we're going to dive into the last presenter of all of E3, and that would be Nintendo. So, Donnie, you're the resident Nintendo guy, so.
We should have started this podcast off with, we're going to dedicate this whole podcast to Nintendo. But first, we're just going to do a little bit of this other stuff.
And then go on for Pokemon for an hour?
Exactly, because that's how the conference started out, right? It was just
So anyway,
right.
Donnie, go ahead. Take it away. We'll save our comments for the end.
Well, I was hoping my buddy Jason Lacey would here with me, but we'll make do. Nintendo was at E3, contrary to other reports. Before I get into the news that everybody wants to hear, I do want to take a moment to say on day one, Nintendo gave the indies some love, and they announced the Axiom Verge, a game called Jotun, and Severed are coming to Wii U. Jotun and Severed have really good reviews. They came out on PC, and Severed came out on Vita. I don't know anything about them. They look pretty. Our resident PSVG PlayStation expert Kyle is going to do us a review for Severed because he played it, and he said it was awesome. He's glad it's coming. Also, Donnie was right. Rumbo Pocket was announced, and we are getting Rumbo on 3DS. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Shantae's coming, and Rumbo is freaking sweet. I love that game. It's one of my favorite indie games last year. You know what? It probably was my favorite indie game of last year, and I'm so excited it's coming to 3DS. So get those out of the way to make do for the big game, and that is, finally, The Legend of Zelda for Wii U was unveiled. Nintendo did a live stream all day, like beginning at 12, and they streamed until like 8 p.m. of this game, The Legend of Zelda, now named Breath of the Wild. Before we get into the game, I hate that title. What do you guys think about the title?
I don't mind it at all. I was almost expecting them to just stick with the Legend of Zelda and let it be, but it could be worse.
I thought that'd been better.
Yeah, they've done better, but I could see it going far worse, like Skyward Sword.
Okay. This is Eiji Onuma's, I would say, his first real take on the Zelda game. He's been the series producer for quite a while under the direct supervision of Miyamoto, the legend. But in this game, Miyamoto even self-admittedly over E3 said he'd taken a step back. And Onuma set out specifically to change a lot of the formula that makes up your Zelda game. And change a lot of it has. We found Link waking up in the trailer that was shown first. He wakes up in this apparatus, this space-like Metroid vibing apparatus with this fluid draining, with some mysterious person telling him to wake up, and then he ventures outside for the first time into this giant world. The giant world probably is the character of show here. They streamed for 8 hours, and then all week for 3 days, they allowed people to play this game. And you were able to play this one particular section of the game called the Great Plateau. And the Great Plateau stood up 1% of how big this game is, and they showed the map. And this game has been characterized as 12 times the size of Twilight Princess. And for those of you who played Twilight Princess, it's quite a big game. An easy good 30, 40 hours a game here. I don't know if there's, that times 12 in Breath of the Wild, because there's a lot of fast travel and stuff that you've never really been able to do before, but it is a much bigger and grander game. The game comes aesthetically styled with cell shading that you'd find in a Wind Waker. It looks to blend in some more realistic effects. It kind of reminds me of an anime, like a Gundam Wing or like a Ghost in a Shell. That was really kind of the vibe I was feeling from the whole thing. It's kind of a mix.
My buddy at work kind of called it like a watercolor look.
Yeah, they tried that with Skyward Sword, but they were real heavy on it, and I think that was because of the limitations.
Yeah.
And the formula's different. I mean, well, first and foremost, you can cut all the grass you want, but you're never going to find rupees and hearts in the grass anymore, or at least not in this game. Now Link must survive. And that was kind of a new thing for the Link series. Link must survive. His weapons deteriorate as they are used. He must find new ones. He must craft them. There's a ton of crafting in this game. If you are running low on health, you must craft health in the form of food. You can hunt animals. You can then cook animal meat to make steaks, or cook apples to make baked apples. And if you cook them, you get more money. You can set up camp. It goes on and on. Jason and I did a live blog for about 4 hours of watching the stream, and even at the end, we were still finding new stuff. A lot of the things that, when Jason and I did a review of Twilight Princess, we did a podcast where we were talking about some of the things we'd want to see in the next Zelda, and one of the things that I asked for was loadouts. I thought it would be cool if we could customize Link's loadouts. Well, now you can. He's got a full inventory resource management where he finds all kinds of different clothes, and you can mix and match and pick and choose and take what you want. And I mean, it's a very deep game, much deeper than any Zelda game has ever been. For those wanting a Skyrim-like experience in the Zelda world, it looks like this is about as close as that's ever happened before. Trying to think off my head of anything else. The dungeon layouts are different now. Agent Uma did state that there will be dungeons proper. However, instead of maybe there being 12 dungeons that you have to get through, there might not be that many, but now they have over 100 shrines, which are these mini dungeons. And each shrine has an item in it that will help you along the way, something that will, advance the story. And the story here is very different. They didn't show much in the story, but even what they showed, the world is ominously, eerily empty. And there's this whole time mechanic that's in play that we don't know about yet, and this whole technology. There's a lot of technology we saw early in the beginning. There is this Sheikah technology. It's almost alien or foreign to this natural world. So there appears to be this time mechanic where maybe Link goes back in time, or is fast-forwarded, or was, asleep in some sort of echo chamber for a long period of time. Maybe it's post-apocalyptic or pre-apocalyptic. We don't really know, but there's definitely something there like that. And it looks great. I mean, it really does look great. It's won multiple games of E3 already. For the first time in the series, Link has a jump button, which sounds hilarious for those who've never played a Zelda game. You can always jump in Zelda games, so you can only jump at certain, you jump over a gap, or you can jump up a wall, but you had to wait for the prompt. In this game, you can just jump and freely move as you see fit. You can also climb. It does look like they've ripped off a lot of things. It looks like they've ripped off some Xenoblade. They've ripped off some Assassin's Creed with this game. There might be some Uncharted in there. Those that were really good at playing the demo, they were able to advance outside of the plateau to other regions, snowy regions, and like the lakes and the rivers. And I mean, more or less, the map really took the show, and so did the landscape. You see blades of grass blowing in the wind. There are free-roaming animals in the field. The Temple of Time was on display. It looks rugged and broken down and abandoned. And I mean, I was super excited to see it, and so was Jason. Again, Donnie was right. In our E3 predictions or pre-thing, I said I wanted a dog. Well, you're not going to get it. If you've completed the, what's it called, Kevin? The Dungeon of Shadows?
I believe so, yes.
Something like that. If you did the Amiibo dungeon in Twilight Princess, if you put your Amiibo in the new game, Zelda: The Breath of the Wild, Wolf Link Amiibo will appear and be your companion throughout your playthrough. So you'll be able to run the world as Link with his trusty Wolf Link dog, and the dog will help you hunt and it will help you take on battle. It kind of seems like an easy mode to me. You know, like that's really kind of what I'd look at, but I still think it's cool that he has a companion, that you're not going to feel alone. And I do think the demos, everything I've seen, it felt like Link was alone. They did not see any cities or wrestling characters or anything like that. I'm fairly certain Onuma said that's intentional and that the story will provide reasons why. It looks like, there are some epicenters in the game, but most of the game is going to be played kind of very natural, pre-human stuff or post-human stuff.
Would you say in the wild?
Yeah, in the wild.
Breath of the Wild. By the way, that dungeon is the Cave of Shadows.
Cave of Shadows. So that was the big announcement, and like I said, they streamed a ton of it. Before I get into the other games, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Zelda, but I also want to say that the approach that Nintendo took to show off their games, I didn't mind. I actually thought it was pretty neat. I think they were almost like trying to placate to this gamer streamer culture of, instead of us just doing a trailer on stage and this proper thing, like let's put hands on the game and show people what the game looks like. The execution, however, I did not find very good, and I don't think it did a lot of their games justice, because I think the one thing that I realized very quickly is that people just can't watch this for 2 and 3 days long. There were a lot of announcements that I missed and had to go back to, and we've got a complete write-up on the site and videos posted in the forum, so if you guys missed it, we've definitely done all the work for you, and you can get it in a one-stop shop over at PlayStationVideoGames.com. But I loved it for Zelda. I really did. I loved, instead of them, that trailer was awesome. I'm glad I saw that trailer, but that trailer would have not meant anything to me if I didn't get a chance to sit down and watch people play the game. So, Nathan, what did you think about Zelda?
I didn't get a chance to look at it really in depth, but from everything I did see, it's interesting. Probably one of the coolest things I saw was somebody going around and like cutting grass, and then they ran into this rock, which turned into this golem type creature, which is just kind of like, random stuff just happens when you're around in this world. Looks interesting. I mean, it's huge. It's a huge map, and I don't know how long it's going to be. Is this going to be like a Witcher type, 100-hour campaign, or how long are typical Zelda games?
I would say a typical Zelda game is usually between the 20 and 35-hour range, with the exception being Twilight Princess that really went up there. Twilight Princess is the one that really went far. I mean, even Skyward Sword didn't go that crazy with it.
So they're aiming at this one probably being the longest and biggest, right?
Oh, this is by far. I mean, that was definitely the mantra. This is the biggest, most grand Zelda adventure we've ever dared to make.
So with this game, I mean, it's Zelda. I've always wanted to enjoy Zelda. I've told you guys that before. I really wish that it looked a little bit better. And from what I understand, like the NX and the Wii U were going to be exactly the same version, so it's not going to give you higher fidelity on one than the other.
That's not the case.
That okay?
AJ Newman clarified that comment. He said he had a misquoted comment during a live stream where he said it's to be the same experience. A lot of people ran with these versions of the game are the same. He then clarified and said it will be the same experience. That doesn't mean it'll be the exact same. I did watch a really, really great breakdown of the graphics and the draw distance and a lot of the pop-in. For those of you who go watch it, there's a lot of pop-in in Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that is attributed to one, Onuma and Miyamoto said is the physics engine. That's the reason that they're claiming the game was delayed for so long, is that it has a really neat physics engine where almost everything in the world moves. There's a lot of destructional environment. You can cut down trees and make bridges. You can use boulders in combat and push them down hills and line up shots and set traps and things like this. And they said it took a really long time, and they had to have Monolith Soft, who is the Xenoblade creator. They had to have Monolith Soft come in and help them get that done. But the draw distance in the Wii U version, if you just want to go real technical, is really not that good. It's about halfway through the screen. You can see the detail really muddles out. And also, the draw distance, like let's say you fly over a canyon, Link can't fly, he can glide. He can run and jump off of cliffs, like just on your own. You can just run and jump off if you have the item, and you can just glide over canyons to kind of make traversing the giant map easier. And when they were doing that, I saw a lot of things popping in. And it was referred to that the NX version would alleviate a lot of some of these things. And it is attributed to how big the world is and this physics engine that's running in the background. And to be honest with you, Nathan, I actually kind of agree with you. Not that I think it looks bad, because I don't. I think it's beautiful. I think the art style is great. But I was wondering, as I was watching, I was like, how much better would something like this look on an Xbox or a PlayStation if it was that much stronger? But then I did something that I would encourage you to do. I went and started watching YouTube videos of people playing it on the show floor, and particularly this one that we tweeted, where there's a really good over-the-shoulder camera and of somebody playing it just like on a 32-inch right in front of them, you know, something you'd see at a conference. And when I watched that video and I saw kind of what my eyes would see as a thing is moving on camera, you know, I just kind of backed off that. I was like, you know what, that game still looks beautiful. So I think I come to the realization, I think I'm still going to play it on Wii U, even though it's going to dual launch on NX. Like, I've had the Wii U this long and I've enjoyed it this much. I'm going to get that game and play it on Wii U because I do think it's going to be better there. We'll save the NX talk for later. I do love the gamepad implementation, all the inventory management, and the maps and everything you can do. But I do understand what you're saying. Kevin?
So, for me, the trailer, like you had said, if you watch just the trailer, it probably doesn't do anything for you, and that's kind of how I went through day one of Nintendo streaming, because I was busy at work and stuff, so I couldn't enjoy the conference and live stream as you and Jason were. Did go back in later and watch just a little bit of the streaming stuff, because I don't want too much to be revealed. I want to kind of experience it for myself, because no matter what, this is going to be a must-buy for me regardless. The art style I've come around to. The trailer just really didn't do it justice. It's kind of weird that you'd think they would have done a little bit more with the trailer than what they did. But this is a game obviously you need to play. I love the changes that they're doing with it, with the jump things, the crafting, the outfits that actually matter, the armor and the different tunics, Donnie. It looks great. I'm excited for it. I don't know if it'll be on Wii U or NX for me. I do need to see what NX is going to be down the line. But I'm all on board. I think this game will do to Zelda what Ocarina of Time did to Zelda.
I agree with
you. It's just a total game changer. That
was Anuma's statement that he kept saying over and over again, is that we're relooking at Zelda and we want to do for Zelda what Ocarina did for Zelda. And that's their attempt with this game. My closing comments on this game, because Nintendo did have other things to show. Yeah. So we want to get there, is that this looks like the type of game that was made for me. Like, if you could have mocked up Donnie's perfect Zelda game, this is really close to it. I love the art style. I loved Wind Waker. It's my favorite Wii U game, so that's right down my alley, this whole cel-shaded thing. And just, this looks like the type of game that I would almost discourage you from even looking at a guide. Like, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, this is the type of game that you plug in, you boot up, and you just go get lost. And you just find your way around, because, maybe not even use the fast travel. Like, it looks like such a fun to take a stroll through and just see what's around the corner. There's all kinds of Bokoblin, camps set up throughout the world where you'll just stumble upon, some folks, having a steak, or, they're roasting a pig, and, you can choose to, take it or steal it, and it's not like in Zelda Past where, they come out at night and they don't during the day. These people, they're there, they travel around, they move through the field, at night they sleep, they camp. So, you can sneak into camps, Link can sneak for a change. That's something Assassin's Creed still can't do. You have a sneak button, I guess, or a command where you can, hide in the grass and behind trees, and you can stealthily steal weapons and things from your enemies. I just think it's really grand how far they're taking it. I'm almost impressed by their vision. I didn't expect something this, not just big in the terms of the map, but more or less this, all the things that are going into it. It's pretty huge. So, moving on, their show really took a dull moment when they showed Pokemon Sun and Moon. What they showed was fantastic. Another great game of show, to be honest with you, for fans of the Pokemon series. This looks like the best iteration of it to me. It's got new menu redesigns and UI. The graphics have been enhanced. There's full 3D models for the trainers. So everything is better. No, it's not, it's nothing crazy new like Zelda is. It's Pokemon. But it looks like as good as Pokemon possibly could be. Other games that were announced, Box Boy is getting a sequel. That was the Box Boy Plus that came out in Japan a while ago. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's a very fun puzzle platformer that came out on 3DS last year. It's $4.99. The new one is also $4.99. It comes out in 15 days. It was one of my favorite games last year. We reviewed it on the site. So if you have a 3DS and you want to spend $5 on an awesome game, I can't recommend it enough. Mario Party is coming back to 3DS in the form of Mario Party Star Rush. For the first time in a Mario Party game, it features simultaneous play, which means that all 4 players can roll the dice and play at the same time, which seems really kind of chaotic and actually kind of fun for me. So I think that addition is something that's worth giving, an eye to. They announced Yokai Watch 2. It's getting the full Pokemon treatment, dual release with different versions. You can catch new yokai. It has online multiplayer, which is something that was also added to Pokemon Sun and Moon. Forgive me, I forgot. Has a 4-player battle royale stadium mode where you and 4 of your friends can battle 3-on-3 Pokemon trainers, and I guess he or she who is standing last wins. So that's a pretty cool addition. Monster Hunter Generations and Dragon Quest VII were both, I guess confirmed to be coming. We knew those were coming from the Nintendo Direct. They're all coming this fall. So Monster Hunter comes, I believe, in... Is it July?
July 15th. August. No, July 15th for Monster Hunter.
Okay, and then Dragon Quest comes in September. Dragon Quest VII, which is a full remaster of Dragon Quest VII from the PlayStation over to the 3DS. Really excited about that. Continuing my 3DS quest, they announced a new IP called Ever Oasis, which is coming from Grezzo, the company that they're the developer that did the Ocarina of Time 3D remaster as well as the Majora's Mask remaster. It's an RPG in like this little desert world. I mean, obviously Oasis, where it's kind of like the city builder thing, where you recruit members to come back to your Oasis to make it better. And it's got the RPG battling elements and all that to it. Looks very Final Fantasy to me. That's really the thing I was getting, like old school Final Fantasy. And the director on the team that's leading it is the director of the Final Fantasy Mana series. So that makes sense. They gave some Wii U some love with Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. The game is coming out within a week, I think 7 days from today, and they gave it some love and they walked through it. And I thought they did the game a lot of justice. They showed the open world, they showed the game mechanics, they showed the battle system. But if that game's not on your radar, I doubt it's going to be. And then let's see here. Yeah, I was saving these 3 for last on purpose. They showed Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, and then they launched it then. So they had it on the live stream. They came up and they showed Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix. If you guys don't know what Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix is, it is a rhythm-based, very cartoony game that's out on 3DS. It was on Wii U and Rhythm Heaven Fever. It had a DS game as well. They took a bunch of those mini games from those 2 titles, added a bunch of new ones, put them together in one package, and released it on 3DS. It's digital only right now, eShop only, for the price tag of $29.99. It's got a free demo out for anybody that wants to play it. You can play the demo. It goes through about 5 mini games. You can play the demo and go round and round. I want to hear Kevin's thoughts on this before we come back to it. They showed Paper Mario Color Splash, which is Kevin's big game, and it's coming in October 7th, the big Wii U holiday title. I thought it looked amazing. To be honest with you, like the one thing that pops out is Paper Mario Color Splash, one of the prettier games to show up at E3 in all seriousness, and it's running on Wii U. It looks incredible. It looks like an evolution from Paper Mario Sticker Star, which I know makes a lot of people cringe, but I played Sticker Star and I didn't mind it, and this game looks like it is bettering that idea. So I'm excited to hear Kevin's thoughts on it, and then I'll rebuttal those. And then lastly, but not least, they showed Pokemon Go and Pokemon Go Plus, a $30 version of this mobile game. And I think this was the big fail of the Nintendo conference. I had such high hopes for this mobile thing because of my friends that play so much Ingress, which we've talked about in the past. But I personally just thought Pokemon Go looked really rough, and off to a bad start. It's coming at the end of July. I'm still intrigued in seeing what it is and hoping there's something more than what they showed, but what they showed I didn't find to be all that appealing. So back to you, Kevin. I got through the list. Sorry, it's a big list.
No, it's
okay. For a company that didn't think they had a lot to bring. I think they brought it. They brought a lot.
They did. Just looking at the list of all the games, they actually did talk about quite a few things. It wasn't in the traditional formats. I think that threw people off, but they definitely had stuff to show. I think you did great on time, so don't feel bad at all. I'm going to hold off on my comments because I'll probably have a little bit more to say than Nathan will. So, Nathan, I'm going to throw it to you first, and then I'll go into it.
I don't really have much to say. I mean, it's Nintendo. I'm happy that Donnie sounds happy, and I hope that everyone's happy with what they get with Nintendo because, you know, it's going to be one of those things where I know that NX is going to come and people are going to be like, oh, well, it's here, but it's not as powerful as our console. It's going to get crapped on again, but I'm hoping that the games bring it, like if Zelda, if it comes out, you know, swinging, and if everything just works the way it should, I hope NX will be great for the future. But for now, I mean, my Wii U has been kind of a barren little box sitting there on the TV. Occasionally, when the kids come over, we play some Super Smash Brothers. But I mean, it's fine. I can't get excited about anything, honestly, from Nintendo right now. They burned me with this Star Fox. You know, it's not what I wanted, and I'm hoping that it's not the same thing with Nintendo with Zelda when it comes out either.
Nope, I completely understand. That's why I figured I'd throw it to you first, and then you can listen to me and Donnie argue and debate. But I think I'm going to surprise Donnie a little bit, though. So I already talked about Zelda. I'm on board. I like it. I like what they're doing with it. Pokemon Sun and Moon, same thing. It's a Pokemon game. They did add a lot of new cool features. I think they're similar to what they're changing in Zelda to make it better. I think they're doing the same thing for the Pokemon series, so I'm interested in that. Ever Oasis, that one really interested me, actually. It just I tweeted out that it was basically if Final Fantasy had sex with Animal Crossing, you ended up with Ever Oasis.
Hey now.
Hey, Nintendo's getting sexy. I'm interested to see a little bit more on that. They didn't dive too much into that one, so I do want to see some more information on that. The only other things to note for me, really, Yokai Watch, that still looks good to me, but I played the first demo and it didn't really grab me. I kind of want to like it, but I just haven't been able to get behind it. So if they release another demo, I'll give Yokai Watch 2 a try. I do want to correct you on one thing, though. You said Tokyo Mirage. What'd you say the name was? Tokyo Mirage, what is it?
It's Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE.
Okay, that's right. It's actually Tokyo Mirage Sessions ## Sharp FE Deluxe Wii U. So I just want to clarify that.
Killing me.
And then Paper Mario Color Splash, I like what they showed. I did watch some footage on this. While, yes, it's still not in the same spirit or vein as the 1,000-Year Door, which is kind of...
I'm glad you're going here.
Yeah, that's kind of what everybody holds as far as... You know, I don't want to say everybody. What a majority of people hold as the best iteration of Paper Mario. I do like what they're doing here. I am on board with the card battling system and the concept of painting them to make them better or worse, depending on the scenario. I do like what they're doing here. I do want to see more, get a little bit more behind the story a little bit. But I'm on board. I like it. So I'm excited for this. I think this, you know, if depending on what happens with the NX, this will most likely be my last Wii U purchase in October for Paper Mario. But I think it's, so far, knock on wood, it looks like a happy ending for the Wii U for me on this one. And then Rhythm Heaven, we talked about this one before. I hadn't played the previous ones, but I kind of always wanted to. I have not downloaded the demo yet. I promise you I will do it this weekend because it does look very much like a rhythm-based WarioWare title. And I do like the WarioWare games where they're kind of quirky and crazy. So I'm on board with it. I have to reserve judgment until I play the demo, but I will 100% be downloading the demo. Actually, I might do it right after this podcast. But I will be playing that. I'm excited to see what it is. I'm a little disappointed it's digital only because of storage space on the new 3DSs with the SD card situation. But whatever, it is what it is. It's not a deal breaker for me if I like the demo, but I'm intrigued to see what it is. I just haven't dug too much into it. Overall, as a conference, like we said, they had a lot more to show than what they were saying and what people were saying. The execution, though, I think that's what kind of kicked them. You know, the breaks in between live demos, that kind of didn't make sense. Why wouldn't you just throw it to like another location and have it ready to go?
Or at least have a schedule that went out in advance.
Yeah, right. I mean, that would have made a heck of a lot more sense. They spent way too long on Pokemon. I think kind of everybody has said that. And then honestly, I agree with you on the whole concept where you said that the streaming is kind of the way that it is. Not people like watching live streams and stuff like that. I totally get that, and I can agree with that. But I do miss the polish of their Nintendo Directs. Like, I liked having that format where it's like, this is done, and this is done exactly as we wanted it to be, and then do live streams. Like, I would have been happy with that as well, just to kind of get the whole cohesive thing of, like, here's everything we're going to talk about. And then, oh, by the way, we'll be live streaming Zelda from 2 to 4 and Pokemon from 5 to 6 or whatever they're going to do, and then give that schedule. I think that would have been a better executed model for them to go with. So I'm trying not to judge them on the delivery of the stuff, but actually what they presented. So, begrudgingly for me, because I am a Nintendo fan, I'm going to have to give them probably a B because of that. Only because some of the titles they showed were so good. It's just the execution was rough. Otherwise, it probably would have been an A or C in any given direction if you look at it that way. They kind of save themselves with the content, but that's just my thing on there. So I'm going to give it a B. Trying to cut the middle right there. So I'll throw it back to you, Donnie. Yeah, B minus. Okay.
I think that's smart. I think that's a good grade. They have a game of show, or at least probably the game of show, in most instances to most people, which, should give you warrants better than a C, I think, just having that alone.
Right. Yeah.
I'm interested in. I like that you brought up the fact that Paper Mario. It seems the only thing that's being lobbed against it is that it's not a 1,000-Year Door, and I'm happy with that. I understand why people are saying that because 1,000-Year Door was so amazing. I do think it's interesting though, and I'll just bring this up that. I brought up on our PlayStation Reactions podcast that I wasn't too... I'm still excited for it, but I was at least a little bit depressed that God of War doesn't look like God of War at all. And you really don't hear anybody saying that at all. Like, there's nobody like, I liked God of War. Like, why are you changing it? But it seems like in Nintendo's case, they can't get out of that hole, that everybody just wants them to keep giving them the thing that they had before. I like Paper Mario Color Splash. I didn't think I was going to be honest with you. I've never been a huge Paper Mario fan. I don't even really like the 1,000-Year Door that much. Like, it's a good game. It's not like a bad game. It's just not really on my to-do list. But I think Paper Mario Color Splash 1, it's got the art style that appeals to me, but more or less, I like the resource management, where you have to paint the thing. You can paint your cards, which is like a risk-reward, like a gambling thing. You got to paint the world to get more paint to collect cards, and the whole battling system. There is this resource management / puzzle / gambling thing. It kind of looks addictive. So I was really behind it. And then the last thing that I wanted to say was Rhythm Heaven Megamix. I downloaded the demo on both my 3DS and my daughter's 3DS. And I played it, my daughter played it, and then I let my wife play it. My wife's a music major. That's what she does. That's what she loves to do. She's a singer and everything. And I thought this game would be right down her alley. And it was. She legitimately asked me to buy her a 3DS and this game. And a lot of times I always say that it is my goal to bring perspective to PlayStationVideoGames.com. That's why a lot of times I speak on behalf of my kids, and I stick up for games like Mario Maker and Minecraft. And I want to stick up for this game. No, this game is not going to get Nathan excited. And Nathan, no offense, it's really not meant to.
None taken.
It doesn't get me excited either, but there are people for these games, and I do feel like the IGNs and the GameSpots of the world just glance over something like this. And oh, my God, it's a rhythm game, you're moving on, because it's not what Greg Miller wants to play. But there are other people out there that want to play these games. And my wife asked for a 3DS, and she doesn't play video games. And she was like, you know what? I would like this. If you got me a 3DS, I would play this on my lunch break at work. So if you think something like that might appeal to somebody that you know, download the demo. Let them give it a try. You can play the full demo. It's like 5 courses, like I said, 15 times before you have to buy the game. And Kyle, Kevin, I'm with you. I'm 100% on board. I wish it was a physical release. I really do, because I would love to buy one cart and have the entire family be able to play it. But in Rhythm Heaven's case, the one on Wii U only sold 14,000 copies when it came out. So
right. I understand, yeah.
It sold terribly. And it's a great Wii game. So if anybody wants to try it out without dropping $30, go to Amazon and get Rhythm Heaven Fever for Wii for $7. It's like it's mostly halfly the same game, and I think you'd really enjoy it. So I like these games, and I like trying to stick up for some of these games every once in a while.
Why is it that I'm always Jason or Kyle?
Yeah,
I've only been
why? I'll tell you why.
I've only been hosting this gig for 4 months now. You'd think you guys would know.
I'll tell you why. I looked right at my Skype, and the first thing I saw was Kyle. So I wanted to say Kevin, but I was just staring at Kyle's face. And when you can just get lost at staring into Kyle's face and his gaze, it can just trap you. It's that PlayStation. It's addictive, man.
It's why the ladies listen.
It's why the ladies listen.
We all know it.
But you're right. The format didn't do a lot of these titles justice, like Box Boy and Rhythm Heaven and Mario Party Star Rush. I wasn't too big on Ever Oasis when I saw. Like, I want to see more of it because what I saw I didn't like. But Zelda is the talk of the walk, and Zelda looked incredible. And I'm so excited for it to be coming finally. I know it's been a long wait, but it is why I bought my Wii U, and I'm committed to continuing to play it on Wii U. So for me, overall, I would agree with you. I'd give the conference a B. It was above average because they brought some games, but it wasn't outstanding at all.
Agreed. So, fans, this wraps up our E3 coverage. And we do want to thank you for sticking with us through all these podcasts. But, to step outside of the box for a little bit, part of the whole reason we started this thing was to give a different perspective than what you might hear from somebody else. There's been a bunch of recent iTunes reviews. We want to thank you for those, kind of saying like, hey, no matter what kind of game you like or what kind of perspective you have, you're probably going to find one of the guys is on the same page as you. And thank you so much for that, because that makes us proud, and happy that, we're doing this and you guys kind of get what we're trying to do. So we want to take the time to give every big presentation and every big game its moment on the podcast. So that's kind of why we split it up and kind of, been pumping these out for you the last couple of weeks. We appreciate you sticking out for it. And hopefully you guys get what we're trying to do, and we thank you for it. There will be one more show talking about E3, but it's going to be different. We're going to go back to the old format, you guys, so send in your questions to playsomevideogames@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us at _PSVG. But this last one's going to be our picks, and we're all going to vote and kind of do a blind announcing of our best of E3. So we've distributed to the cast of guys here the list of different categories we're going for, and we are going to have some for you guys, the listeners. So we want to hear your votes on certain categories. By the time you hear this podcast, the ballot will be available for you on the website. And instructions on how to send that in to us will be there. And, we want to see what you guys have, and we'll have a listener, best of show and listeners, blah, blah, blah. And we'll reveal our picks as well. And then, we can kind of debate back and forth on the forums about it. So love to hear from you. We really want your votes here and kind of, speak your mind as to what you are excited about at E3. So send in those questions. Give us the votes on the ballots there. Continue to rate us on iTunes and share with friends. We love it. Nathan, you want to talk a little bit about your experience today that you had with the fan?
Yeah, so I just noticed on Xbox, I was like, hey, I was followed by somebody recently. And so I looked at him, and I saw he's followed also Donnie and Q and Mo. I was like, oh, he must have listened to the Xbox Empire episode. And I followed him back, and I just messaged him before the show, and I was like, hey, so, what you've been playing? And he's been playing a ton of great games. He's been playing Rocket League for now, but he recently beat Fallout 4, so he's after your heart there, Kevin. But he's also after my heart, too, with The Witcher 3 and Tomb Raider, because he beat those games recently, too. And he's playing The Last of Us on PlayStation 4 right now. So, these are some great games. And he's just, he's enjoying the podcast. I was like, awesome. Just glad that he got a chance to listen to us. And I didn't ask him this, so after I told you, Kevin, he's like, hey, so how did you find us? And he was on Podcast Addict, which is an application that Donnie, I know, uses. And he's looking for just some random video game podcast, and he stumbled upon us and listened to us and listened to all of our episodes so far, and he's enjoyed it. And we actually used one of his questions earlier on. And I asked him, I was like, hey, is it okay if I share your gamer tag? Because I don't want to do that. If anybody, listeners, if you want to come and talk to us, it's anonymity unless you say, share my gamer tag or share my Twitter handle or whatever it is. Well, if it's Twitter, it's a little bit different. If it's a direct message, that's a confidential. If it's over in the public already, then we'll probably share your Twitter. But I asked him if it was okay to share his gamer tag, and he said, yeah, it's fine. So he is the space Pav, P-A-V, space 89. Again, the Pav 89. That's a space between the Pav and 89 and Pav. So he had a question for us, guys.
Ooh.
I know we didn't put out the call for it this time, but you know what? I wanted to see if we could field this because, and I wish Kyle was here for this one because this is kind of his realm, but we can get our thoughts too. And he was curious about the VR game lineup,
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't tried any VR yet. Neither have I. So we're in the same boat there. But besides exploring games and shooting games, what else could they bring, right? And also, will the controls be worth using, or will it be the same or better with a handheld controller like we have now? So, what do you guys think? So we've seen shooters, we've seen like these Eagle games, these experiences that they have. What else besides the typical exploring or shooting games would you guys want in a VR experience? Donnie?
Puzzle games. It's the first one that hit me, and there is one. I really, I know why you said you wish Kyle was here, because Kyle would know it off the top of his head.
The Lord of the Isle?
No, that's not it. There is a puzzle game.
No, Kyle is the Lord of the Isle.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying that's the actual game. I'm like, I don't know. Sure, I'm not buying VR, but I have, I've done my homework on it, and there's one really, it's from the developer that made Lemmings on Vita. Dang, I wish I knew what it was.
Headphones right now.
Yeah, I know. I feel so bad. Kevin, let me find this game. You answer.
Okay. I'll go through. So, yeah, we heard a lot of VR news, and some of it was exciting. For me, Fallout 4 VR, that sounds nuts to me. But for me, what I want to see more of, and we did get a little bit of it with the Resident Evil, is I think survival horror. I think that's something that can really appeal to those types of fans. Obviously, it's going to scare the bejesus out of some people, and the reaction videos will be funny online. But I'd like to see more of that coming out. I played through the Resident Evil demo. I talked a little bit about it in the other podcast, and I had a blast with it. Now, if I was able to actually quote unquote live through that virtually, I think that would have been 1,000 times better. But then here's the whack-ball one. Sports games. I think it would be insane to play like a Madden in VR or a racing game in VR and do it that way. Now, with those, to answer your second part of your question, for me, I would much rather have a traditional controller and play through the VR and use it just kind of as a look-around thing. But that's just me, because I think it would be kind of weird depending on the mechanics of the game to actually have like gesture controls or motion controls for a lot of these types of experiences we're seeing out now. So I'd rather have the controller, but I'd like to see more survival horror and sports games. I think would be kind of cool in VR as well, and not what we're currently seeing already being pumped out. So
I want a flight game. Flight games would be really cool, being able to look around the cockpit. And,
those are there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, show me that.
Valkyrie.
Yeah, Valkyrie. I mean, those are built for you to be kind of sitting down, in a way, so it has an up there, and put a joystick or something. It makes perfect sense to use a controller that you're familiar with a joystick or something at that point too, with the buttons.
Sure.
And just using your head to look around, and I think that X-wing, putting that in there in that space combat feel would be excellent. I'm looking, like you said, racing. They've kind of already gone down that path in a way with some of the things that they've done with Forza and Kinect in the past. But yeah, I mean, for me, I would want, who, you guys talked about this on the PlayStation podcast when you were talking about the little apparatus that they've released or they announced for the shooters. It's basically PVC piping with a couple lights on it. Basically like a zapper. I mean, that's kind of neat as far as controllers go, but if I'm going to be completely honest. I think that the controller, for the PSVR specifically, having the wands just doesn't do anything for me unless they're lightsabers.
Oh, fair enough. I think that's a given.
Yeah, if they're lightsabers, it's the best thing ever, and I'm so in, and I'm PSVR for life at that point, because I just, that would be amazing. But for anything else, it just doesn't feel like it would be that great, because the Wii tried this a long time ago when they had like I don't know if it was Call of Duty or what it was, but they had like a little thing where you put the controller in and the nunchuck and you connect them up and you try to do that thing.
Legend of Zelda Crossbow Training had the piece, and they did a couple handgun ones too.
They did Call of Duty World at War, which was best on Wii. People laugh at that, but you look it up. There's still people playing that game because of those controls.
Yeah, I mean, and that was interesting, but it didn't really take off. So seeing that they're bringing it back now, it's
hilarious.
It's kind of funny, right?
It is. It is so funny watching people do zappers. The game that I was thinking about, to steal the conversation back, Nathan, is Super Hypercube. And this is the game that really caught my eye for VR, and it's something that would attract me to it. And essentially, you stand behind this cube, and it's not just a 4x4 cube. It can have all kinds of different oblong stick and bricks and sticks and edges that stick out every which way, and you can rotate and move the cube in front of you. But there is like a wall, a platform that is racing towards you, and you have to get the cube ready to fit inside of the hole that's racing towards you, or you'll get hit by the wall. And it's stationary, so you just stand there and do it. I could totally see something like that. Like, you imagine in a Tetris world, if you were 3D Tetris and moving the cubes around in space, as opposed to just 2D Tetris in terms, something like that seems really cool and mind-bending without, making you sick. I mentioned on the podcast, I think Minecraft VR is a great idea. Because it's already played from first perspective. So if you could just feel like you're in the world and you could fly, like you can in Minecraft, and dig down into a cave and fight zombies and stuff, I think that's neat. You brought up sports games. From everything that I've read, and there's a reason I'm not super huge on VR, is that it seems like we're still really early on VR. So, the things that make you move quickly or make you walk, tends to make people sick. So sports, I do think, are a little weird. However, I do look at something like a Sports Champions, a Kinect Sports, or a Wii Sports, and I could see something like that where you're from a fixed perspective. And I would love a little arcadey golf game, like Robot Golf. There's a giant Robot Golf that's coming to PlayStation VR. I don't want to go tearing down buildings and stuff while I'm playing golf, but I would love a golf game where it's just in first person. You can look around and you can see, and the field of view, it looks like you're actually out there on the golf course. You're not really walking and moving, so you don't have to worry about getting sick, but you could just make the swing, with your hands and have the VR and the motion control. That could tie an experience like that all together in my mind.
Hot Shots VR?
Yeah. Maybe that's why they didn't talk about it.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe it's being delayed.
Boom.
Hey, if they want Donnie Reese to buy a VR unit,
that's how you do it.
You put Hot Shots on it, and I'm totally. I'll let you know right now. I'm a sucker. I would totally do that.
I also.
And then,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, and then last, Eve Valkyrie. That's the game that's been shown. It's on everything. It's on Oculus. It's on Vive. It's on PlayStation VR. I think it's on everything. I think I've seen it everywhere for VR for a long time now. But that game looks awesome. It really does. It's that arcadey space shooter, and it's very colorful, and everything's moving around. You're in the cockpit, and anytime where the game is stuck, I think a stuck point of view, I think aids VR.
Nice. And I did want to do one other comment that I got from him that I asked him, because I was like, hey, what caught your eye at E3? And he said that, I need to scroll up. The game lineups for both systems look pretty great. He likes the game lineups that are coming out because he has both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and he's excited for Days Gone and God of War. He thinks those look pretty awesome. So, again, the Pav 89 on Xbox. And thank you, good sir, for listening. We look forward to future questions and interactions with you, and come check out the site and check out the forums and talk to all of us over here. I'm sure that the games that you're playing right now, dude, I mean, we would talk about any of those games. I know I would talk about The Witcher for days if I could, but Donnie keeps saying no.
Until I play it, and when I play it and fall in love with it, then we can talk about it.
Only if it's on Nintendo. No, I'm just kidding. But no, that's a great example of a story. That's why I asked Nathan to reach out and ask how he found that out about us, and it was by chance. So that's why we stress the importance of hey, if you like what we're doing here, share it with somebody else that you think would also enjoy it as well. So the bigger the audience, the longer we'll keep doing this, and the bigger and better it's ever going to get. So once again, thank you all so much for listening, sharing with a friend, reviewing us, the whole nine, and make sure to tune in next week for our last time we'll talk about E3, at least for this year, with our Best of E3 awards show. And make sure you get those votes into us and hit up the website to find out how you can help participate. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, never stop gaming.
Thank you for listening to Play Some Video Games, the official podcast.
I'm not buying an X in it anyway. I had somebody write me, if it has more teraflops than the Scorpio, I'll buy it. I'm like, they're never gonna have. That's not gonna happen.
Nintendo hasn't been about the power behind their device in so long. It's always just about the experience and or the games or whatever. And that's not what they're trying to do. And they also know that they're not going to put out a $600 to $900 machine either and expect people to buy them. Like, it's not going to happen, especially with Nintendo. People are not going to roll the dice at that price tag and be like, maybe I'll give Nintendo a chance again. No, it's not going to happen.
I really want to hear Reggie or Miyamoto say teraflop.
I want to hear Miyamoto try and say teraflop.
What is teraflop in Japanese?
Teraflopu.
That sounded Mexican. Spanish.
El teraflope.
Teraflopo.